What's up, Vibes fam? Welcome to another episode of Vybez Shortz, the conversation series. My name is Peta Vaughan. I am the host of Vybez. Usually, I host Vybez with Peta Vaughan, which is just a conscious entertainment program where we bring artists and speakers and people from all over that are just doing the damn thing in the world. And usually, that's a live interview. But because we're in a pandemic and we're on a lockdown quarantine situation and a whole COVID, we're doing a video chat series to bring on some of my friends and expertise and people that I know who are just doing dope things in the world to talk about current life situations, what's happening, and how we can all support each other in getting through these times. And with that being said, I have my lovely guest here, Mr. Damon Speaks. I'm so excited to have you on the program. I love your work. I love love how you show up on the media. So I'm so happy to have you here so we can have a conversation about what's going down. You know, a lot of things happen in the world right now, a lot of things. And I thought it was important to just have you on to bring on your medicine, your positive light, and your influence. I love me some David Speaks. I love all of your
Thank
messages.
you. It's such a pleasure to be here. I am honored to be here with you today.
Thank you. I'm so happy that we get to have this conversation. But yeah, but I know of you from social media. I would love to connect with you in person one day. But I know of you from social media, and you put out a lot of messages, a lot of conscious speak about like relationships and like self-worth and self-love and what you do in itis. Like you yeah, I see that. I see that one. So yeah, you put out a lot of dope content that I love and I'm inspired by. And yeah, I just felt compelled to have a conversation with you. Being an artist, being a Black man in America, being an opera singer, like we got stuff to talk about, David. So
All the things.
please let the people know who you are, who you be, and what you bring. Like, tell us about it, please.
So it was a cold day in February in
Yeah.
1983. I came bouncing into the world in Detroit, Michigan. I'm really proud of my hometown.
Yeah.
I love being from there. I don't know if it's something in the water, like there are just so many talented families and dynasties, people that come from Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I was raised there, and somehow I found my way into music. I love music. My father sings. My uncle actually sings opera. He was the first person in our family that I know of that began to sing opera. And so when I was young, I was exposed to a Black man from my family up on the stage. And so he exposed me to that because he represented that for me. That let me know that it was at least a choice. Now, when I was young, I thought that it was weird. And I didn't see myself being an opera singer. But as I grew older and I started to study it, I fell in love with it. And little by little, doors have opened. You know, I call it the breadcrumbs to my destiny. There were these little things along that way that led me to opera, but they also led me to things like Abraham Hicks and the law of attraction and putting out good vibes into the world. In 2016, it was 2016. I started Damon Speaks out of a situation that was really hurtful for me. I was in Europe and I was supposed to be covering a role, but I gained a bunch of weight and I couldn't fit the costume for this role. And it took me to a dark place. And I was considering, like, you know, suicide. I was having suicidal ideation, and this was like really tough for me. And so
Yeah.
then I just decided to start speaking these messages every day, and I started putting them online, and little by little, people started to be affected by them. And I'm so glad that I'm able to put this light out into the world. There have been many times when I wanted to quit,
Mm-hmm.
but undoubtedly someone will reach out by text, by DM, in person and say, don't stop. Thank you so much. I haven't seen your videos lately. Where are they?
Yeah.
So I really feel a larger call to be who I am in the world. And
Yeah.
I'm loving the journey.
Well, we're grateful for that because I love your videos and you're very, very inspiring. Um, I want to talk more about your path to opera, right? Because you're a Black man that sings opera and I don't know of any personally. You're the first and only one that I know, and you're more exposed to that world, I'm sure. But growing up, I didn't see that either. So that's dope that your uncle paved the path for you. But tell me what initially, besides your uncle, right, saw it, so you were able to say, "Hey, I could do that as a Black man." But what makes, because that's not necessarily like a familiar chosen path for most Black men.
Mhm.
So, what led you down that path? What made you say, "Hey, I want to do that. I want to follow in my uncle's footsteps and sing opera"? Like, where was your calling for music? Where did that come from? And how did you decide, like, that's the path that I want,
Mm.
that I'm going to choose for me?
So music, I think that I was born singing. You know, from my first cry, it was just in me to sing and to be a
Yeah.
performer. And however, that was just the seed. It needed to be watered.
Yeah.
And so there were so many people along the way, especially I am a big advocate for public school music programs. I
Mhm.
went to church. My dad played the organ at our church. That was great. But then when I went to school, I learned how to play the violin. I learned how to play the alto saxophone when I was in middle school. I was in the school glee club. And to be honest, I always felt a little behind. It always felt a little bit different. I don't know if I had a learning disability or what it was. I just didn't feel like I was learning like other kids.
Yeah.
And so when it was time to go to high school, I took this test in Detroit to get into the top 3 academic high schools and failed. And I didn't want to go to my neighborhood high school.
Yeah.
And so I had a good friend that I was in the band with. He said, "You know what? There's this new school called the Detroit School for the Fine and Performing Arts. I think you should apply." And so then I was like, "Well, should I apply for saxophone or should I apply for voice?" And I wasn't good at practicing, so I didn't think I was very good at the saxophone. So I decided to go for singing because I had my uncle in the back of my mind.
Right.
So I went there and I started to receive my education. It was fun. It was fun. I was picked on in elementary school. I was picked on greatly in middle school. But when I got there, I found, now I was still picked on in ninth grade, but when
Yeah.
I got there, I found a family of
Yeah.
people that were like me, that
Hmm.
were in the arts. And so from there was a man named Alden Shell. He was
Hmm.
the accompanist for one of the choirs that I was in, and he took an interest in me. And I don't know where it came from. It must have been from Spirit or from Source. He just saw something in me, and he said, "I want you to sing these opera arias." And so from there, he invited me to the Detroit Opera House for an opera camp that summer. It was the summer before my senior year. I went there and I met a woman by the name of Elizabeth Parcells. She
Hmm.
found out about a full scholarship to the Interlochen Arts Academy, which is in northern Michigan. The Interlochen Arts Academy is also a camp, is world famous. People come from all over the world there, young people to study dance and theater and art and voice and all the things.
Hmm.
And about 2 weeks before I was supposed to go to the Detroit High School for my senior year, I got
Yeah.
accepted to this school and I got a full ride. Not only did they pay for my tuition, they paid for my books. I had a clothing stipend. They even gave me, I think, $1,500 a semester in spending money. It was just like, what? What
Yeah.
is this? And
Yeah.
so that was another sign that maybe this is something that I wanted to do. And then after that, I got into the Eastman School of Music on a scholarship. It wasn't a full scholarship. I still had loans, which I'm
Yeah.
still not paying, but I still have loans.
Welcome to the club.
Welcome to the club.
Right.
Um, and then one of the most interesting things that happened was that when I was leaving Eastman, again, I still, even though I was studying music, didn't feel like the best student. But I decided I wanted to take a year off. And
Hmm.
I happened, because I'm from Detroit, went with a friend from Eastman, which was in Rochester, New York, to Ann Arbor, Michigan, for him to audition for the University of Michigan. So when I was there, I was in the hallway. I was feeling good vibes. Like I always loved the University of Michigan. I never thought my grades were good enough. And again, I never thought I was intelligent enough to
Yeah.
get into a place like the University of Michigan. I
Mhm.
ran into a professor that I had met 2 years previously named Daniel Washington. He said, "Hey, young man, it's good to see you." I said, "Hey, Dean Washington, good to see you." And he said, "So what are you doing next year?" I said, "Oh, I'm taking a year off. I'm going to go home. I'm going to get a job." And he was like, "Come and see me in my office."
Mm-hmm.
So I went to his office and he slid an application across his desk and said, "I want you to apply to come here next year."
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have any choice. He didn't give me any choice. So I applied. I took it immediately to the admissions office. And I think a week later, I was back auditioning. And this was late in the game. This was like early April, late March.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a full scholarship to the University of Michigan for grad school. He pulled strings for me because, of course, my grades were not the best.
Yeah.
But I got in.
Yeah.
And that was a big step because I got so many opportunities there to do
Yeah.
my first big opera role. And the most special thing about going to the University of Michigan was that I was in Detroit. And since I knew that I was going to the University of Michigan, I did an audition for the Michigan Opera Theater, which is
Yeah.
where I started. That's where I
Yeah.
started at the
Yeah.
Opera House years earlier.
Yeah.
And they were doing a production of Porgy and Bess, which is, if anybody doesn't know what that is, it's a black opera or opera centered around the black experience in the 1930s in South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the part I auditioned for was Crabman, and it was 9 years earlier that my uncle also sang that same role with the Michigan Opera Theater. I got the part, and I was literally then walking in my uncle's footsteps, walking the same path that he walked that was open for him. So that just kind of blew my mind. All
Yeah.
right, University of Michigan goes well.
Yeah.
Then I'm at a crossroads again. I decide I don't want to go and get a doctorate. I'm not a good student. So I'm going to take some time off. End up taking time off. After that, got accepted to this international tour of Porgy and Bess in 2000. I think it was 2008. Got to
Mm-hmm.
go to Russia, Greece, Estonia, Latvia, Germany, France, all these
Wow.
places. Porgy
Yeah.
and Bess. There are a lot of people that have a lot of different feelings about Porgy and Bess because it shows, like a shuck and jive
Mm-hmm.
black experience. However,
Yeah.
have to give honor to George Gershwin for opening that door and for saying only to hire black singers
Yeah.
while producing Porgy and Bess, because it's taken me literally all over the world.
Right.
While I was on a Porgy and Bess tour in 2008, I met a man by the name of Richard Cordova, and he told me about the Sarasota Opera, which was in Florida. He said I should apply.
Mm-hmm.
Again, late.
Mm-hmm.
I sent in my application. A few weeks later, I went to audition in Chicago, and I got a job with the
Wow.
Sarasota Opera, 2009, January through March of 2009, and I was making $550 a week, which was more money than I had ever seen.
Right.
It was a good time.
Yeah.
So then after that, did that for a few years. Again, I don't know what I'm going to do. So a friend of mine, his mom worked at a company for many years, and she offered me a job. I had always wanted to have an office job. So I was
Okay.
like, yes, I'm going to do it. And I was tired of staying, because at the time I had moved back home to Detroit, and I was staying in my parents' basement.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with it, but I was tired of
Nope.
it.
Yeah.
And she offered me a chance to live with her for free in her basement, which was finished. It was great. I'll always be grateful for her for that experience. I
Yeah.
started working this office job and was bored out of my mind. Bored. I mean bored.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I guess this isn't the path for me.
Yeah.
And I applied to the Lyric Opera of Chicago, which is has this very prestigious young artist program. I had applied twice before, auditioned twice before, and had been rejected. And this time, I don't know what it is with this late thing. I applied late. It was like the day before the application was due. I called them up and I said, hey, can I still submit? And they were like, sure. I went, I auditioned. It didn't go as well as I wanted it to. Like I was cracking. I was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I was committed to the character.
Yeah.
And then about 4 weeks later, I was at the office job. I got a call, and it was the director of the program and in Chicago asking me if I wanted to come to the final auditions. Blew my mind. I mean, this was a huge opportunity. There's the Metropolitan Opera in Chicago, in New York City. There's the Lyric Opera of Chicago in Chicago, and
Yeah.
these are called A-tier companies, which means that they're budgets are millions and millions of dollars per year. I
Mm-hmm.
went to the final auditions. I ended up getting accepted, and I made about $55,000 a year
Wow.
being an opera singer. At that time in Chicago, that was like great money.
Yeah.
So from there, I was like, okay, I'm set. I
Yeah.
got out of that program 2 years later, and again, I was like, all right, now what?
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily feel that I could have the career that I wanted to have in Chicago. So I decided to first go to New York for a few months just to try it out, and I subletted my apartment. I moved to Brooklyn September 2013, and I was there for about 2 weeks when I realized I can't go back. I
Yeah.
can't go to Chicago. I have to stay in New York. I have to stay in New York.
Yeah.
So I let my apartment go. I had a great group of friends. I had a dope apartment in a
Mm-hmm.
wonderful neighborhood, and
Mm-hmm.
I let it go because I felt the energy
Yeah.
and I felt the call to be
Yeah.
here in New York. And so many doors have opened because I've been here. Not only am I singing opera, I've also expanded into being an actor in straight plays. I've
Mm-hmm.
also expanded into doing musical theater. I'm also exploring voice acting. Like my world just totally opened up, and I literally wake up every day excited and grateful to be living in this city, even during the midst of a global pandemic, even during all of that. Like, I'm really grateful to be here. So
Yeah.
here I am.
Wow. What a journey though. What a journey. That was inspiring. Thank you for sharing that.
You're
Uh,
welcome.
yeah, I think that it's so I feel like for me hearing that story, I'm like, you just answered every call. You know what I mean? Like the divine breadcrumbs that were just laid out for you, and you answering the call and following the breadcrumbs,
Hmm.
which has in turn led you to where you are now and just living. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like living your best life, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. That's amazing and inspiring. But we're glad you're here because then you get to inspire the rest of us, right? So that's a dope story. Thank you for sharing that. So yeah, so let's talk about being an opera singer. Like what while you were immersed in the culture, even in the beginning stages, were there any questions in your mind of like, I'm a black opera singer? That might be like a thing. That might be like so out of the norm,
Hmm.
right? Did you ever get any challenges with that, or just being because you were amongst the all black cast at some point, so that sang all opera.
Hmm.
So I'm sure that experience was no, I don't know,
It was great. I mean, it was great.
because like yeah, you're being amongst people, amongst culture, amongst your people. But tell me about the experiences when you were not amongst a black, because I'm sure opera doesn't have all black cast all the time.
Hmm.
Have you found it challenging being a black opera singer amongst um, the opera culture, or are you just like, nah, this is how it is. This is who I am. This is it feels comfortable. It feels good to just be in this space all the time. Like, what has your experience been with being a black opera singer, not amongst black people and a black cast?
So my experiences have really run the gamut. For the most part, I'm thankful to say that I have not experienced any overt racism.
Mhm.
And for the most part, I felt good being around people that were not Black. But there's nothing like the Black opera experience, being in Porgy and Bess
Mm.
with those rich voices that are like mine and being a family all together. There was absolutely nothing like it. And that's why there are some detractors that say, why are we still performing Porgy and Bess? Let's write our own things.
Yeah.
And there has been a lot of progress in that area.
Yeah.
However, when I was not around all Black opera casts, um,
Were you in that situation a lot, or was it mostly your experience being amongst just black opera singers?
no, it was, maybe 30%, 25% of the time I was with people from Porgy and Bess.
Mhm.
Or, but like 75% I was either by myself or there was one, maybe two other Black people around.
Mm-hmm.
And because of my personality, because I have always leaned toward positivity, perhaps there was someone that tried to make me feel like I was different or less than because I was Black, but it kind of just went over my head. There have been people along the way that have told me. Before they told me, I didn't really have an idea of the struggle that it would be to be a Black male opera singer. But along the way, teachers, coaches, colleagues have said, you know, you're going to have a hard time being a Black opera singer. And I guess they were trying to prepare me. They were trying to let me know what it was going to be like. But I wonder what it would have been like if they hadn't said that and I had found out about that on my own. Because when they planted those seeds, it kind of grew. So I kind of went into it with that idea that that was what was going to happen. It didn't affect me that greatly. However, the way that it really did affect me is that I've always been good at being a chameleon. I've always been good, for whatever reason, at assessing a situation, assessing a room, assessing a person, and figuring out how to make them and myself feel the most comfortable. So, you know, Black people learn how to code switch. So when I was around the white opera people, I would be like, hi, how are you? Oh my God, isn't it such a great day? And then when I would get around my Black friends, I'd be like, yo, what's up? What's going on? And it would become super uncomfortable when I was in rooms, which we often would be because opera is donor-based for the most part, with these older, rich white people and me feeling like I needed to try to be whatever they thought I needed to be. So I always had to play it up. I always had to be my best white sounding self. And that is just not healthy. I think it took away from me being who I am and really figuring out earlier on who I am and who I need to be. So I've done some work around just learning how to be comfortable in my skin. If anything, being around the white people and not being around Black people took away from my sense of being okay with who I am as a Black male opera singer. Yeah.
Wow.
Never quite put it into those words, so thank you for that question.
Yeah, you're definitely welcome. Thank you for sharing your experiences about that. Yeah, because I feel like it's one of those things where we get to share our experiences because like you never know who's coming up behind you. You know what I mean? Like someone aspiring to be a Black opera singer would love to know this information. Like what is the world of opera like as a Black person and as a Black opera singer and what those experiences are like for you. It may not be their experiences, but I think it's helpful just to share. They are aware of the environment that's going on for you and what that felt like for you. But yeah, let's talk about being a Black gay man in America. Let's go there. Let's go there. We know what's going on now, right? And I've been having many conversations with people, with white people, with my own friends, Black people, about the state of the world right now and racism and Black Lives Matter with the George Floyd situation and Breonna Taylor and we can go on and on and on with that list. But yeah, let's talk about that. What my experience as a Black woman in America is definitely different from your experience as a Black man in America. Though we both Black, we both can share the pain in racism. But I feel like the world does treat Black men differently than Black women, for sure. But I'd love to hear about your experience and how you feel about this Black Lives Matter movement, how you've been affected by the George Floyd situation and the protests and allies and all of these things that are happening right now. I'd love to know your take on it, your experience with it, and how you're coping with everything.
This whole experience, being in a pandemic and then being faced with, you know, watching George Floyd be murdered on camera with a knee on his neck for over 8 minutes was difficult. It's very difficult. And I have found myself at times before now with Trayvon Martin and Eric Garner and on and on and on, unfortunately, feeling kind of disconnected and feeling kind of despondent emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
But there was something about this that drew me in. Maybe it was the fact that the world was slowed down, that I was just at home, and that I could really process my thoughts and my feelings.
Yeah.
And it helped me to realize that it doesn't matter that I've studied French, Italian, German, I sung in Russian, I've sung in Czech, that I have sung on many stages around the world, that I sing opera, that I'm a good son, that I'm a good brother, that I'm a good uncle, that I'm an upstanding citizen. It doesn't matter because the color of my skin is a target. It makes me a target.
Yeah.
And because of racism, I could be killed on camera.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the person that is responsible for my murder is not charged. There are people that say all lives matter.
Yeah.
Okay, you bet your butt.
You can go there. It's okay. You can go there. It's that type of program.
You can bet your ass
Yeah.
that all lives matter. We all know that.
Yeah.
However, people also say, well, why are you getting mad at the cops killing black people when there are black people killing black people?
Oh, we
Okay,
heard. Mm-hmm.
great.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many people that are dying from gun violence on the south side of Chicago.
Yeah.
If you look at the history of Chicago and the way people have been held back and the redlining that has happened and the fact that everybody's been pushed into this small area with limited resources,
Yeah.
limited opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
crime is going to rise. People tend to kill, statistically, people tend to kill the people that they live around. So there are also white people killing white people. So that argument, you might as well squash that.
Every culture.
However, let's go back to all lives matter. Okay, great. If I'm killed by anyone else, anyone of my own race, you better believe that they're going to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Yeah.
But if I'm killed by a police officer by way of police brutality, there's a chance, more often than not,
Yeah.
there will be no charges,
Mm-hmm.
but there will be some excuse made as to why I deserve to die. And the thing that fucking pisses me off
Mm-hmm.
is that people like Candace Glover will say, George Floyd wasn't a saint. Okay, he wasn't a saint, but does that mean that he deserved to die in the street that way? He deserved his day in court. He deserved to live out whatever the process is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. My Black Life matters. Your Black Life matters. The other analogy that I often talk about to people is that, say there's a neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
There are 20 houses on a block. They're all so beautiful, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of them catches on fire. It's burning down. If we don't
Yeah.
put water on this house, it's going to burn to the ground.
Yeah.
So everyone's taking buckets. They're doing everything they can to put out the fire. Then some dumb asshole walks along and says, "But don't all these houses matter?"
Yeah.
Duh. They all matter, but this one is burning down.
Yeah.
You can see us literally being killed in the streets.
Yeah.
Black people, people of color, all of the time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Black Lives Matter. And the other thing that pisses me off real bad is Black people that dare not to support trans or gay people. What the hell? What are you thinking?
Yeah. Yeah.
Trans people from the beginning have been standing beside you, fighting for your rights.
Yes.
And you dare push them away, you dare beat them up and make them feel less than because they love differently or because they look differently from you? What is the matter with you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Stand up for them.
Yeah.
Because they have stood up for you.
Yeah.
Let's all come together and say that Black lives matter, trans lives matter.
Yeah. All Black lives matter. And I thank you for speaking to that. I felt you on that big time. I heard this in it was like a comedy skit, and I forget the name of the comedian, but he was saying, and I think it was actually filmed prior to all of this craziness, but he was saying like, yo, we say Black Lives Matter, and you guys have a problem with it because it's like there's the word matter in Black Lives Matter. It's like, why can't we matter? Like, why does the word matter bother people when it comes to Black lives? You know what I mean? It's like so simple. Like, we just want to matter. Why can't we matter? You know? And that's what stood out to me. I was like, that's true. Like, what is wrong with like us mattering? Like, we feel like our lives matter. You know, it's not that all that. And I was explaining this in another interview the other day, but it's like just because you say Black Lives Matter, it's not taking away from all lives mattering. It's not taking away at all. We're just emphasizing that Black Lives Matter right now because like we are being murdered
Right.
for being Black.
Right.
It doesn't make sense, you know? So thank you for speaking to that. But yeah, and it's interesting that like Black people and being someone that is queer, and I consider myself a lesbian, it's like for a while, like even in the Black culture, I've been discriminated against. And there's a lot of different discriminations going on in Black culture. There's colorism, there's all sorts of stuff we can go into. I think that it's a thing when Black people don't support the queer culture because it's of religion or for whatever their beliefs are. But I feel like it's the same thing as when white people discriminate against us, right? It's the same thing that you're giving out, but you want equality for all people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lives matter. You want equality for all people, but as Black people, we're still putting down other Black people based on their sexuality and the way they look and the way they express themselves. And it's like, oh, then you're just doing the same thing. You're asking for equality, but then you're not giving the same in return. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't make sense. Or even when, and I like to know your opinion on this, even when Black people, I hear people like Amanda Seales, and I love Amanda Seales, but she's been ranting about white people supporters reaching out to her, and she's just like, no, like don't go do your own research, go find your own books, go do. And I'm like, but we're all sitting here vying for Black lives to matter, and there's people that are willing to support us who are outside of Black lives, right, outside of Black culture, that want to support like white allies, white supporters, and you're doing the same thing. You're just like, nah, we've been oppressed for years, so nah, you don't get to come in and say shit, offer yours, go do your own research, like, you know what I mean? And I was like, there's something wrong with that. I feel it's like, where are you offering? You want to be supported. You know what I mean? We want to be supported. That's what we're in essence, this is what we're fighting for, is to be equal and to matter and to be important, right? So when people come in and be like, how can I help support this cause? And then you're turning them away because I'm Black and you're white and you need to figure out your own shit. Like you've been oppressing us for years. That's not the attitude I feel that we should have as Black people towards white people. Because let's be real. We've heard, and I'm sure you have too, things about white people growing up that have been programmed in our mind, like white people are this or white people are that, or don't do that because what? Like we've been programmed too. You know what I mean? Like we all get to look at ourselves in this.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, we're not going to help the white people because they've been oppressing us for years. Like, no, we all get to be in this together to support Black lives so that we matter and so that we can be a part of all lives matter. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, there's just some things going down that I don't feel like is supportive to the movement, even though we're saying Black Lives Matter, but then we're doing the same shit in our own culture, you know? Why doesn't trans lives matter? Why doesn't, you know, non-binary people matter? Like I'm just also educating myself to this because I'm like non-binary and the pronouns with the she and they and people who don't identify as male or female, that's also new to me, and I've realized my own thinking behind it because I'm trying to like wrap my brain around like, oh, this is a new thing. Like, how could I support this? You know what I mean? I'm sure white people are thinking the same thing. Oh, am I racist? How could I change my thinking and how can I support the culture? But we get to welcome the people who are supporting us into the movement. not reject them, not turn them away, because then you're doing, in essence, the same thing that has been done to us for 400 years. You
Right.
know what I mean? So that's my take on that. How do you feel about? I don't know if you've seen any of this type of behavior where Black people are like, nah, don't come, no, don't come for us now because where you been? You know what I mean? Type of deal. So I don't know if you've seen any of that, but or experienced it, or maybe you feel that way. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I'm
I
that.
had a I had a white friend reach out to me and say that she saw a post on her Facebook timeline of one of her Black friends saying, "Stop reaching out to me. I can't handle it. I don't want it. Just know that I'm well and leave me alone."
Yeah.
And so she was trying to figure out what she should do. And I personally have welcomed my white colleagues and friends to check up on me, to tell me that they love me, tell me that they're thinking about me, ask me how they can be helpful.
Yeah.
That's who I am.
Yeah.
I do understand
Mm-hmm.
that there are people that have been in the fight, and been loud and been out there on the front lines longer than I have. And I
Mm-hmm.
understand the fatigue.
Yeah.
But I do think that it can become problematic when you're turning people away that really do want to help and that
Yeah.
really do want to open a door.
Yeah.
I do not see myself as a person that's always going to be on the front lines, that's always going to be at the protests.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering, like, well, how do I make a difference
Yeah.
in my life and in the lives of others?
Yeah.
I think that there needs to be conversations that are happening
Yeah.
between people, between friends, between lovers, between acquaintances,
Mm-hmm.
co-workers, because it's easy to look at the grand scheme and the grand picture and to see a Black person on TV and see, oh, this is what the media is showing me, this is what it is.
Yeah.
Or to see a white person on TV and say, oh, this is what it is, they must hate me. But
Yeah.
when you are able to have a real conversation with somebody that you know,
Mm-hmm.
then that's where the change comes in. It comes in on a grassroots ground level.
Yeah.
They can carry the message to maybe their white grandma who was
Mm-hmm.
alive during the civil
Yeah.
rights
Yeah.
movement. So I understand it. I don't push against it when people say that they are tired. I get it. But for
Mm-hmm.
me at my house,
Yeah.
we're going to be educating and we're going to be having the tough conversations with people that I know in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Thank you for speaking to that. But yeah, I think it's a conversation we all need to have with everybody at this time. So, with all that being said, let's talk about COVID-19. What is your take on COVID-19? Why do you think it's here? That's a question I ask all my guests. Why do you think it's here? How has it affected you, both personally and your career? And how are you coping with it?
Huh. There are so many thoughts
Yeah.
about COVID-19 and whether it was designed specifically for this time, and is being used with malicious intent, or whether it just evolved naturally. And I really don't know yet where I fall on the spectrum about what I believe about that.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are some things that make me think, that's awful convenient.
Yeah.
People have been talking, health professionals have been talking for years
Yeah.
recently about the next global pandemic or how this could happen. And
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot of talk recently, right before it happened. So, coincidence or not, I don't know. However, I do think that it was here to change the world. The world will never be the same. The world will never be the same. If you think on the technological level, the number of Zoom calls, the number of Skype calls, the number of things that we're able to do online. The online shopping was already a thing, but Amazon has made so
Oh, that.
much money.
Oh,
Instacart, all these services.
yeah.
One good thing that's come out of it for me is that now both sides of my family, mom's side and my dad's side, we have a monthly Zoom call with each other.
Right.
And someone does a presentation about what's going on in the family, or we just get to see each other and we get to commune in that way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's taught a lot of people to be still.
Yeah.
It's taught a lot of people to be okay with being with themselves. I do feel for those that had to go through quarantine or are still going through quarantine by themselves.
Yeah.
So there are good things and there are bad things. It's exposed a lot of disparities that are in communities that are not thriving financially and communities of color.
Yeah.
So those are things that we need to look at. So I think it's just a great, also equalizer in a way. For me, in my career, I was driving for Uber, trying to figure things out. You know, in the career, there's this up and down and
Yeah.
twirly thing and all these things.
Mm-hmm.
So I started to gain some real traction. I was making my debut with several symphony orchestras, doing jazz and pops concerts, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
And I had some gigs lined up. I was just creating a new musical in Kentucky when this whole thing kind of blew up.
Mm.
And I had stopped driving for Uber because I was like, I have gigs lined up into 2021. What are you talking about? I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
Wow, this COVID-19 snatched.
COVID came in and was like, no, not today. Not today.
Snatched my gigs, snatched my livelihood. Um, However,
However,
I'm always taken care of. I
yeah.
do worry. I'm a worrywart, but I am always taken care of. So lots of things have popped up. I've been doing a lot of virtual performances. I did the first performance that I know of its kind of an opera on Zoom. It
Mm.
was broadcast through Zoom onto YouTube Live.
Nice.
Everyone was singing live. We got it to sync up because when you're trying to sing with music over the internet, there's all kinds of latency issues.
Right.
I've also started to do my certification to become a certified life coach. I've been doing Damon Speaks for the last 4 years,
Oh,
but I never
okay.
found my way to getting certified. So now I'm going to start accepting clients. I have
Nice.
a great idea for a book that I'm going to write.
Hey.
And I've stepped into something even more new. I am working as a social media manager and digital content creator for several businesses because social media is huge. And I create my own videos and I'm on social
Yeah.
media all the time. So why not let that work for me?
Yeah.
And once the world gets back to some semblance of a new normal, I can
Yeah.
travel the world and still have my phone and my laptop and a internet connection and still be able to work and still be
Yeah.
able to build wealth. So
Yeah.
if this had not happened,
Mm-hmm.
would I be in the place that I am right now? Would I be looking at the things that I'm looking at right now in my life and also figuring out what it is that really sets my soul on fire? What it
Yeah.
is that I really want to do? Would I really be spending this much time with the people I love, although it's virtual? So, yeah, there's a lot of feelings I have about it, some great, some not so great.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I'm grateful to be where I am today. And absolutely, prayers, thoughts go out to people. I've lost members of my family,
Mm-hmm.
of people that are struggling. Um, yeah, that's how I feel.
Nice. Well, it sounds like COVID snatched up a few things, but also gave you a lot of things in return. Right, right. It's a it's a give and take here, right? Um, but no, but I'm happy that you get to do all these creative things, and find your way through it and find yourself in it. I mean, that's the beauty I feel of this COVID-19. We all get to find something in it that
Yeah.
can either change us or transform us or have us stay the same. But I can't imagine anyone staying the same with all of this going down. But yeah, I'm happy for you. That's dope. Life coaching is huge, I feel, in holding space for someone else. So I wish you all the love in that, friend. That's dope.
You friend.
Yes, you're welcome. Is there anything, we're going to move into what I call a vibing with Peta segment where I just ask you a bunch of fun questions. But before I move into that, is there anything that you would like to offer or speak on that I haven't asked you about? Do you feel complete in anything in everything that you wanted to say?
I really feel inside that show up. Like it just keeps reverberating and repeating inside of me because I am a type of person that, through self care, which is so important,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes will not answer the phone knowing that I could for
Mm-hmm.
someone, a family member. And so
Mm-hmm.
as of late, I've just been hearing show up. So I answer anyway.
Yeah.
And even if I'm able to say, you know what, I can't really talk right now, but I just want to make sure you're okay.
Yeah.
It's so good to just show up for those
Yeah.
relationships. Familial, for this guy that I'm pseudo dating.
What does pseudo dating mean? What does pseudo dating mean? Please explain that to me.
I guess it's dating, but with no attachment.
Okay. All right.
I've never been good at that, but that's my term for it. It may not be the correct term, but that's what I call it.
All right. Learn a new
We're
thing.
somewhere between friends and dating for real.
All right. Okay. Pseudo dating. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Yes. So show up. All right. You get to show up, Damon Speaks. Get to show up. So all of us get to show up as well. We get to show up, not be half-assed in anything. Because that's the only way you're going to learn. You show up all the fucking way. Be with your authentic self and your true self. And I feel like that often pays off. Because like the people who love you will love you. The people who are not for you will not be for you. And that's cool. Like you get to attract people that you want around you through just showing up and being yourself and being true and authentic to who you are. So I love that. Thank you for that reminder. We get to show up.
Yeah, we get to. We don't have to, but we get to, because it's a gift to show up and to be there.
Amen. Ashe. Get it. All right, so let's move into some fun questions. It's centered around like COVID, quarantine, all the things. So this is our Vibing with Peta segment. My first question for you is, what significant figure, whether living or dead, would you like to have met or like to meet?
The first person that comes to mind is Maya Angelou.
And why?
I love her poetry. I love her spirit, the wisdom that just pours out of her life experience, her lived experience. I don't like to read that much, but I read, I think it was about 1,150 pages of her collected autobiographies one year.
Wow.
So inspired.
Yeah.
So inspired. Yeah.
Nice. Maya Angelou, yes. Okay, so you're pseudo dating somebody, but if there was a celebrity that you'd like to be cooped up in quarantine with, because I like to ask these people questions so I see like their type and who they're attracted to. But if there's a celebrity that you could be your quarantine bae, who would that be?
Oh, Will Smith.
Hey.
Been long standing. He's tall. He's gorgeous. He has such a big smile. You know what? One of the things that I really like about a man is ears. Like I love men with big ears and like huge noses. For some reason, his ears are so sexy to me.
Okay.
Sorry, Jada, but it will have to be Will.
One of my other guests said Will Smith, and I was like, okay, he's an interesting choice, but okay. Quarantine Bay, Will Smith. Okay, Damon. Hey. All right. So favorite. I know we're coming out of quarantine, but like while you were like cooped up, or we're still really kind of quarantined, but what has been your favorite quarantine snack? Like, what are you munching on?
Listen, Trader Joe's is my favorite grocery store in the world. And they have these things called Thai chili cashews.
Hey.
Have you ever had?
No, that sounds good.
If you get a chance. They're delicious.
Chili cashews.
They're kind of a problem.
Hey. That's the part he does though. You know what I mean? You're like, call him like, all right, I'm going in. Day 100.
Right.
Okay, favorite book is a 4-part question. Okay, so favorite book, podcast, music/artist, and series you're binging to right now. You don't have to answer it in that order, but book, podcast, music or artist, and series you're binging to.
My favorite book is Rejection Proof.
Okay.
I think it's Ja Jung. I'm not sure if I'm saying his name correctly, but he did 100 Days of Rejection. I don't know if anybody's heard of that. Oh my God. Super inspiring, super like feeling the fear and doing it anyway and having great results and life-changing. That's my favorite book. favorite podcast right now is anything with Gary Vee. I don't know if anybody knows about him. He's like super social media influencer, entrepreneur. I get such great energy from him. It feeds me in a way that I'm like, yes, I can do it.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite podcast. Did you say TV show?
Series.
Series. The Walking Dead. My
Really?
friends make fun of me for this. They're like, we're literally in a pandemic and you're watching The Walking Dead about zombies. And I was like, yeah, I need to know like what I need to do. Like if things go left and people start dying and coming back alive, like I need to know how I'm gonna live.
All right.
So I've been super into it.
Yeah. I know where to go if ever a zombie apocalypse ever comes through. I know where to go. Bronx BX, we there. What's up?
So that was 3. And then what was the 4th one?
Music or artist that you're listening to right now?
One of my favorite artists of all time that some people may not know about, but I feel like he's gaining traction is PJ Morton.
Don't know it.
Anything by PJ Morton. When you get a chance, go to iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, whatever. His music really speaks to my soul, speaks to my heart as a romantic. Yeah.
What kind of music?
What kind of music? Soul.
Okay.
A good groove. He's written for a lot of gospel artists, but he himself is like neo soul, like along the lines of music soul child, but not really India Ari, but not really Jill Scott kind of vibe.
Okay.
Just good music.
All right. PJ Morton. I'll check him out.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so you do motivational, inspiring videos and content, and you are also an opera singer, musical artist. If that's the only thing I know of you, if I know you very well, I would have asked you a very, probably another question. But from what I know of you, if you had to choose between doing motivational videos for the rest of your life, inspiring people, or being a musician, opera singer, what would you choose? If you just had one choice.
It would be being a musician.
Okay.
Because that feeds my soul in a way that nothing else quite does. And if I am able to create my own things with my music and my art, I'm still going to be motivating people anyway. But I could not see myself losing my voice or like not being involved in that way.
Yeah. All right, let me ask you another question then. That's a spin-off of that. If music wasn't your path, what would you be doing?
I would either be one of 3 things. I would be a nurse, I would be a mechanical or automotive engineer, or I'll be a preacher.
Okay. All right. Okay. Those are 3 big, big career paths.
I know, right?
All right. Cool. See? Good to know. All right. What is the last kind thing you did for someone?
Ooh. The last kind thing I can remember doing for someone is paying for their food when I was in the drive-thru. Like, just go ahead and put the next person's order on my phone. I love doing stuff like that.
That is very kind. Wow. Yeah. And inspiring.
Yeah.
Thanks, Damon, from the other person that came through behind. Thanks, Damon.
I just love putting that energy out into the world because undoubtedly it comes back to me. It always does.
Definitely. All right. So my last question for you is, if you had one message for the world, just one, what would it be?
Love. There's one thing I know. For me, it's that God, source, is love. Love covers all faults. Love covers everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So just love.
Just love.
Just love. I like it. Short and simple and powerful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Damon Speaks, for this amazing conversation. Ooh, we went there. I appreciated all of your just the process and everything that you've been through, and you sharing authentically your experience with being an opera singer and a Black man, and just all and their relationship experience. That was deep. So Thank you for all of it. It was so good to connect with you and just have this conversation. I think it's going to support a lot of people, a lot of the viewers. So thank you for this and what you do. Keep doing it. Keep doing
Ditto. Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate you so much for this.
definitely.
It fed my soul today.
Same here. Thank you. All right. So hopefully we'll have another conversation soon. That would be dope. Hey. Thank you, Damon.
You're welcome. Bye, guys.
Bye.